Welcome to 100-Hour Launchpad. My name is Andre Yap. Let's get the clock ticking. So ladies and gentlemen, over the next 120 minutes, we are going to find out what we can launch, who's going to launch them, for whom, and are they going to stay in orbit? All these things we will find out in the next 2 hours. So Launchpad is all about launching. And as you'll see later on, it's not quite as simple as we take the word launch to be. To get us started, I would like to invite you to follow your screens. We are going to take a diagnostic, no more than 3 minutes. Everything in Launchpad is timed. No more than 3 minutes. And if it's all about launching in the next 2 hours, we want to find out how grounded are we and how much of a position are we to be launching all sorts of things to begin with. So if you'll follow the screens, I will walk you through it. It's going to be a 5-minute affair with the actual diagnostic only taking 3 minutes. All right, shall we? All right, so you want to launch your browser, and on the browser you want to type I am Iggy.app. Iggy with a double G, as you can see on screen, .app. So let's go ahead and launch that. I am Iggy.app. You will see a welcome screen. And you will then be presented with options for how to log in. The easiest would be to connect via Facebook, or just go ahead. It takes 2 steps to sign up via email. And as you get into I am Iggy, you will see a welcome note. And we want you to go ahead and launch the first stop. We're only going to deal right now with the first stop called growth quotient. You could please do that. And then from here, it's a simple matter of following the steps. So put in your organization that you represent, number of employees. Click next at the bottom of the screen. And there's a diagnostic there of 4 screens. Please go ahead and take it. Just be mindful that this is not a diagnostic about yourself. It is a diagnostic about your organization. So please go ahead. So on screen, on the demo, we are done with the first of the 4 diagnostics. We click next, and so on and so forth. If for any reason you are stuck at any page, all you have to do is refresh your browser. For those who are just joining us, we are at IamIggy.app. It's a 3-minute diagnostic if you want to just log in and go to stop number 1, called the growth quotient. And if for some reason you can't, don't worry, this does not hinder at all your ability to go through Launchpad. Any device, as long as you can get into the internet, is going to suffice. IamIggy.app. So later on, we are going to surprise you with a little data visualization. When I say later on, it's in a few minutes, like 2 minutes. All right, on screen, we have finished it. When you finish, please click next. Let's let people catch up for, let's say, 2 more minutes. Yeah. Once you're into the app, go into imiggy.app. Once you're in, just the growth quotient, please. For those of you who are finished, we have unlocked. All these other stops are usually locked at this point. So we have unlocked all the stops for you. Feel free to roam if you are done. And we'll give this 1 more minute. All right. May I ask our screen to go back to the home screen, please? Reminding everyone to click next. All right. So as you can see, we just completed stop number 1. Stop number 1. Now we are going to fast track to stop number 4. Data is beautiful. You could click on that, please. So what you see on screen right now is from our own screen demo. So what you should do is look at your own screen where you took the intake. You will see some numbers there, percentages, right? Those represent your answers on behalf of your own organization. So if I may ask our backstage to please show us a screen capture, the infographic or the data visualization, please, of our cumulative. So all takers, if we could do that, please. The cumulative figure. All right, give us a second. We are going to switch to the screen. All right, so since February, it is only the second day of April. This is the cumulative score of, I would say, about 1,000 respondents that have taken this. So this represents the 4GS, 4 growth streams, is the collective score amongst the 4 growth threads or streams that we measure. 3 of which we are going to hit heavily today. So we are going to hit GX, which is a measure of problem discovery, ability to do problem discovery. We are going to do InnoX, the ability to do problem solving. And may I ask all of us to mute our mics, please. And then finally, the one in brown or gold is collab. So we are also going to hit that very heavily at today's Launchpad. All right, so keep those numbers in mind. It's a measure. The closer you are to 100%, the more ready you are to launch things. But you see, Launchpad, if we can put ourselves in the present, Launchpad isn't about what happened in the past. It's all about what we can do in the future. And in our case, in the next 100 hours of launch time. So we don't count the times we're asleep or we're not working. This is all about launching innovations, solutions, opportunities in 100 hours or less. So I can invite you to join us. At this point, we usually begin the webcast. As you can see, I am wearing all white. It is our way of honoring our, if I can ask the screen to please switch back to our main screen. Yes, thank you. So as I was saying, this is our time to honor our medical professionals, our healthcare professionals. We have an error here. One of our audience, Alex, accidentally pressed their screen and is presenting. So if we could switch back to our screen I will ask for, we have somebody who's presenting. Rolly Doldol, if we could ask you to please get rid of your screen so we can go back to our screen presentation. These things happen. Let's just relax. Rolly Doldol. Can we enjoin you? Yes, thank you very much. Okay. So these are the names of doctors who have, our fallen doctors who have given their lives in the line of duty, in the line of service to all of us. I would like to ask us to offer a moment of silence for our healthcare professionals and frontliners. Okay, so this is a significant moment for us because as much as we honor them who have fought on all our behalves, I am also reminded, and I would like to pass on the reminder to everyone that all of us have our own battles to fight in our own little spaces to take care of. And this is what this time that we will spend together is all about. When we talk about launching solutions, innovations, breakthroughs, opportunities, it is in the line of our respective duties to make our own patch of the world a little better. And in Launchpad, we want to do this fast because the world is not going to wait for us. So here's a case study just to set the stage here for what we're about to go through. If I could ask for the timeline, please, to show on screen. We are going to show a timeline on screen, and it's going to show you, so to set the stage, what we mean by 100 hours. All right, so these are 9 milestones, as you can see on your screen. It's a timeline of breakthroughs that our team, Ignite, has launched in the market, free of charge, 100%. Since this crisis erupted. So we're going to take you on a little bit of a timeline. The significance of that is we are going to use the same methodologies, the same tools to take you through what you can launch based on what we use in order to launch and get through these 9 milestones. So shall we? It's a quick tour. On day 0, it was about 2 weeks ago. Seems like a very distant future, the week of March 11 to 13. My team, about 30 of us, were in our quarterly business review preparing for the second quarter. We were all in Tali, Batangas for 3 days. And then this news broke. And that was the first milestone because that time we committed our team to this vision of leadership in a time of Corona. This was not just our own leadership, but it spoke more for our desire and our commitment to support leaders and their leadership in a time of Corona. And as you will see, the next other milestones are all about that. So milestone number 2, by day 5, take note, milestone number 1 when we started was a Friday. So by day 5, which included Saturday and Sunday, the team worked tirelessly in order to launch the application that you are looking at and we will use right now. So we launched our Launchpad. It's a free step-by-step tool to launch breakthrough solutions in 100 hours or less. We have done, this is the 4th session, and we have touched people 450 times since the time we launched. Okay, so the 3rd milestone, if we could scroll to that, happened day 10, the 20th of March. We launched 30 days of growth and transformation. These are actionable growth experiences for professionals by professionals. Freely given, freely taken, all remote work friendly. So by this day, this was launched on the 10th day, and today, April 2, we are on the 10th day of the 30 days of free programming. And we have done this 20 times already over the past 10 days, meaning we have, including 100-hour Launchpad, what you are experiencing today. And we have touched people 3,600 times just with 30 days growth and transformation. All of these are accessible to you via the web, via free. We will give you links later on. Milestone number 4, also launched on day 10, 30-minute soul pad. These are morning doses like vitamins, which are delivered as audio podcasts and community live casts. So you will see a live video also to help all of us stay focused and balanced daily. So this happens Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. We've done this 11 times already. Yesterday, we did it with Union Bank in a closed door session, and we have touched people 3,300 times with 30 minutes soul pad, helping them to stay focused. It's hard to do anything else if you're not focused and centered. So we try to replace panic and anxiety and fear with focus, centeredness, and we do that every day. And we will be doing that for the next 30 days. You are welcome to join us. The next one will be tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Links will be delivered. The 5th milestone is peak performance. These are 2-hour weekly boosters, exercises, and tools, each accompanied by community live casts, all designed to work our way up to peak wholeness in 12 weeks. So we do this week by week. We are now this week on our 2nd week. Tomorrow is the 2nd episode. It will be another live webcast just like this. I believe it is at 3:30 p.m. or at 3 p.m. The topic will be pain as a gift. And we will have many special guests, among them one of the Philippines' foremost innovators of all time, Tony Meloto, will be joining us, as well as a Jesuit priest, Father Gus Thomas, who is the former president of the University of Nepal, among others, many other special guests for that. So on to milestone number 6, which launched on day 20. That was just a few days ago, the 30th of March. We launched AHA Biz. These are daily briefings, 30 minutes that we do every day on business unusual in our new normal. So we have a team of 4 investigative journalists who track down business leaders and round up, what are literally bleeding edge, blood, sweat, and tears, insights, and practices that altogether form the emerging shape of our new normal. So that we will be doing 4 times already by the end of this week, and we would have touched 200 people. Now on to the 7th milestone. This one is interesting. It launches today, soft launch, if you will, day 22. Okay. It is the Ignite 100 Venture Catalyst Fund. So this is what we figure, and we'll talk a lot more about this later on, how we iterated to this opportunity. This is about finding and funding new normal ventures fast. So as the global pandemic has accelerated our new normal, who knows what that really is all about, much of life as we know it is changed for good and for keeps. So this Venture Catalyst Fund will start with 100 million pesos, and we will find and fund ventures that address opportunities and challenges in this new normal. All right? We will fund them in particular, those ventures that can go through the methodology of launching in 100 hours or less. So on to the 8th milestone, which is coming. We have stated this for launch on the 6th to the 8th of April. We'll keep it under wraps for now, but it is basically as we look forward to, if we can look forward to it, restarting, to a certain point, even those of us who have completely shut down our businesses have to look at a restart. So we are looking at business toolkits to restart organizations, whether it's in sales, it's in marketing, it's in HR, or whether it's the entire organization itself. So it's restart kits for various aspects of business. Which brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to the 9th milestone, day 30 by then. And that'll be the week of Easter Monday. Theoretically, the lockdown should end and the markets will restart. Our business somebody had muted. I'm sorry. I wonder how long had I been speaking without a mic? 10 seconds. Oh, 10 seconds. I'm sorry. What happened there is one of you must have muted my mic. A nice way of saying quiet. So I have the mic for a little bit longer. So again, these milestones and these launches are about the fact that leaders don't wait. Leaders lead. So let's see what we can do about that as one community today. No? If I am ever muted again, please step right in. So let's set up the plot. It is 2:52 right now. Let's set up what this Launchpad is all about. It is really to answer and to discover the answers to these questions. What can we launch? Who will launch them? For whom will we launch them? How many will be launched in the next week, in the next month? And as a result of these launches, how many of them will stay in orbit? We will discover that, or rather we will start discovering that in the next hour or so. We have a diverse cast of characters with us today. First and foremost, I would like to introduce Jojo Concepcion, Chairman and CEO of Concepcion Industrial Corporation, and his leadership teams. They are with us today, the full expanse, many different functions represented. Jojo, could you just say hi for now, please? With your mic unmuted.
Okay. Figuring this out. Yep. Good afternoon to everyone.
Okay.
You can see me, right? You can see me.
Yes.
Okay.
So we will hear a lot more from Jojo and his teams as we go deeper into this session. That is not the only cast of characters we have. We have a very diverse group of outsiders as well, if you will, outsiders to the four walls of Concepcion. They are, we have people from Accenture, we have people from Unilab, we have people from Optum Healthcare, we have the country's foremost economist with us, Bernie Villegas is here with us. We have people from R&D, we have people from innovation, more traditional disciplines when we think about launching. But we also have CEOs, startup people, HR, head of sales, marketing. When we think about launchpads, we're thinking about each of us is going to be in our rocket ships trying to launch them. And there are many different things to launch. Some of them are about addressing problems, challenges. Some of them are about addressing opportunities. So, about the Launchpad itself, and this will allow me now to introduce our last cast of characters. So again, my name is Andre Yap. I am the founder and CEO of Ignite, House of Innovation. Along with me today is my team, and representing is my partner, Miguel Aranaz. Miguel, could you say hi?
Hello.
All right, you will hear a lot more about Miguel, from Miguel. Okay, so now let's set the stage for Launchpad itself. I will just set the cadence. Miguel, if we can go and do a screencast of the Launchpad app.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, so before I turn it over to Miguel, ladies and gentlemen, you will see at 10 steps here, 10 stops rather. Miguel, if we could collapse number 3, please. Yes. So we will go through each of these 10 stops, or rather we will start with stop number 3. In each of these stops, we will go deep. We will go around. Meaning it will be very collaborative, and we will go fast. We will not tell you about fast today. We will let you experience fast. We will not tell you about collaboration today. We will let you experience collaboration. We will not tell you about frameworks of depth. We will let you experience depth. So we are going to go deep. We are going to go around. We're going to go fast. And then we're going to go together to the next stop. And then we're going to go deep. We're going to go fast. We're going to go around. And then we're going to go together to the next stop. If you're ready, I'm going to turn it over to our master launcher. Please go ahead and get us started.
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. What you're seeing on the screen right now is this project is specific to how we came up with this 100 hours Launchpad application. So we're gonna go first to stop 3. Just basically zero in on a target stakeholder. Now you'll notice over here that the each stop has 3 main steps. First is a solo workout, meaning it's something that you do on your own. Peer exchange is basically it involves sharing your responses to the solo workout with your collaborators in the group, and then from there it leads to a iterated response based on what you're gonna based on the based on the data that you gathered from your peer exchange. So let me just get into the solo workout. So this solo workout is specific to what they call this, to who exactly is your target stakeholder. So in this case, instead of starting off with a problem statement, we first want to understand and identify what needs of our stakeholders should we actually address. So in this case, what I said over here was business leaders who are trying to lead their organizations through very ambiguous times. So by answering that, okay, once I save it, it actually leads me now to the next step, which is peer exchange. So you'll see this cadence of doing something on your own and then sharing it with their group mates. So in this case, Andre actually also answered it, and this is what he said. You can even comment on it if you want, but what it actually does is that, okay, it allows everyone to, I guess, read through the answers of other people. The reason we do this is because this experience of just, you know, looking at the answers of your collaborators enriches this whole stage of Launchpad, and we really believe in that. We really believe in that at every step. It's not about having predefined problems or being fed the answers initially, but allowing yourself to, you know, to share your responses, certain data points with like other people. It helps you make a more intelligent response to the specific stops in hand.
Miguel, if I may, let's throw this out to the audience. This is the cadence that we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna start to get really fun from here. You just have to get warmed up, you know. Launchpad is also about getting warmed up, no? So we're getting warmed up right now. What we're gonna do at each stop, including this first stop, is we're gonna describe to you what the prompt is, what we have to go deep on. In this case, describe the target stakeholder who will benefit from our project, all right? So we are gonna give you an example from our own case study. Remember those 9 milestones? The second of those milestones was about launching this app. So you will see the journey of how we launched this app and how we've iterated it in the last, I'd say, 20, 25 days. And as you see that real time, that'll be the first example. And then we will turn to Jojo and team, and we will ask them about their own experience, because as it happens, Jojo and his team, named specifically the Cortex team, which we will introduce later on, also quite coincidentally launched their own 100-hour app, if you will, called We Care. That 100 hours is about 4 days, no? And so we will use then their case as a second example, and then we will throw it out to you, our dear audience, to answer this question for yourself. No, each one. Remember, the thinking we have here is we are using one and the same Launchpad, but we are each in our own rocket ships, right? The configuration of your own rocket ships is your answers to each of these stops. Okay, so let me take you through our first example for this stop. Again, the stop is about describing the target stakeholder who will benefit from our project. In our case, we were there sitting in Pali, no, on a Thursday morning, beautiful Thursday morning, and we knew the world had changed for good, right? This was in the actually a few hours before President Duterte announced the first community quarantine, which eventually became the enhanced community quarantine that we are all under right now. So when we did the first iteration of this, it was very clear to us that our target stakeholder is the same target stakeholder that we have always served. Business leaders and their teams, starting with and focusing on CEOs, taking care of their management committees, their 1 downs, their 2 downs, and so on. This went through several iterations, but it was very clear very quickly to us that whatever it was what we were going to do to stay relevant, we were going to stay relevant for these people. So now, Miguel, let's turn it over to Jojo and his team, and I'll let Jojo introduce his cast of characters who are most relevant. Jojo, in your case, we have a very compelling case study, which is We Care, but you are free to use any other case study, no? So tell us about your particular, of course, they did not use this methodology, no? But they must have started somewhere, and I wonder if they started from identifying their target stakeholder that they were going to serve. So tell us a little bit about We Care first, and then tell us what your answer is to this question. Jojo, go
ahead. Andre, good afternoon to everyone. No, let me do just some introductories to the people. Good afternoon, everyone. First, to people from CIC, and then also other guests from outside. When we started the year, literally, we kicked off the year what we called evolution, and lo and behold, basically, in less than a quarter, we have totally evolved in here. Now, key to the fundamental really is which we said in the beginning of the year on evolution is about key fundamental is about learning and growth. And we thank really Andre and the team that having us spending about 2 hours today, basically continuing this education of learning. I think especially during crisis, opportunities happen, and it's really incumbent for each of us to expand our learnings and basically just not sit home and do anything. So I think learning is a key foundation in how we will get out and how we adapt to this new normal. So with this, basically, as an intro, we introduce We Care, and I have a cast of people here. I think We Care is a platform, and I would love to introduce it, but I was just the start of it. I'll call on Sean to introduce basically We Care, because a lot of this work is really deserving of Sean. Sean, maybe can you introduce what We Care does and how we put that together in as little a time as possible. Sean?
Thanks, Jojo, and good afternoon to everybody else. I hope you can hear me properly. This started as a conversation in Viber, and I think it was the late hours of Sunday, the 15th, when this was just starting to build up. And Jojo sent me a Viber that started with just simply opportunity to help. And Jojo had been mulling in his mind how this COVID situation was going to ramp up, and he saw that there was going to be a potential problem with matching medical resources between donors and hospitals. And he wondered in his mind whether there would be a way that we could build something fairly quickly and get it out into the market to really help. We knew that there were a lot of people fundraising, there were a lot of people trying to get donations to hospitals, and we knew that there were a lot of hospitals in dire need of resources, but how to make sure that the right resources went to the right place at the right time, how did we avoid doubling up and wastage of resources was the challenge, and how could we do this quickly? Jojo actually gave us a time frame of 1 day. He said, what can you launch in 1 day? And we haggled a little bit on that to try and be realistic, but we within an hour of that discussion, I put a challenge out to the team to start thinking about this particular problem, and laid out what we thought the problem was and who we thought might benefit from this. And within 5 days of that, we had the beta version up and ready. Within 7 days, we had external frontline testers from the hospitals on the platform testing this. And then day 9, we did a soft launch, and day 10, it was fully launched and publicly running. It's been running for about 9 days now, and lots and lots of iteration happening. And we didn't use any specific model. The DNA of Cortex is really about doing these types of things, and we're blessed to have the resources of developers and UI UX developers, coders, back-end guys, strategic thinkers, all at our disposal. And the minute we put this in front of them as something that could be done to help the country, not as a commercial activity, but really to help the country, we had people all over this wanting to get involved, and they really worked extremely hard, with very little sleep for at least a solid 8 days to get this up and running, and because they knew how important it was. We've got Froy also on the call here, who was involved day to day in going through a lot of the steps that are in the 100 hours program. But as I said, we were just doing them naturally as part of what we do in terms of ideating and getting prototypes ready and testing and then getting ready to launch this very quickly. So there's a lot more there. Yeah.
Sean, good afternoon to you. It's good to see you again. Sean, of course, I think you forgot to introduce yourself. A quick intro, please, Sean. And what Cortex is all about. Yes.
Very humble beginnings. I'm the CEO and the president of Cortex. I've worked with Jojo for about 12 years. In a bunch of different roles, but I lead the technology R&D arm of CIC, which is called Cortex, and this is precisely the kind of innovation, the rapid innovation that we were built to do.
Great. And Sean, the last time I checked Sunday, Jojo and I were on the phone talking. You had close to 200,000. By then, I think it was 5 days or so after you had launched it, and you had 200,000. I don't know what the count is. Requests from hospitals or various requests. What's the count now? So give us some idea of the traction numbers right now.
Yeah. Look, the growth was phenomenal. To begin with, within I think the first 24 hours, we had over 30 hospitals and 90 pledges. We're now at 140 hospitals on the platform. There's 295,400 individual items, gloves, masks, food, all of that sort of stuff that is needed. So there's about 7,000 pledges made by hospitals that result in that nearly 300,000 things. And we have 344 people on the platform registered, pledging, finding suppliers, and shipping to those guys. So a lot of momentum now.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Love the story, and congratulations again to you and the team. But as we will find out, there's a lot more work to be done, right? I mean, launching is just the very beginning of the beginning. So
launching is just dipping. No.
Yes. Jojo, Sean, Froy, and team, can we just backtrack? Because one of our ethos here is, yes, it's nice to talk about past successes, but the ethos of launching and innovating and being relevant is always, what can I do tomorrow? What can I do today, right? So it's about repeatability. So in the interest of that, let's go into a little bit of a exercise of deconstructing how we got here so fast, how we went deep, fast. So let's go back to this first stop that we were talking about. And Jojo, you were telling me, I think as recently as yesterday, how you started this with this very same question. Who was your target stakeholder at its very first inspiration? And how did you come about with this idea of this target stakeholder?
Well, based on our background, basically, so we knew what was happening. So I remember this was a Sunday evening. I was watching television, and I could foresee, this epidemic going up. And I said, everyone, our frontliners would be at stake. So very single-minded, we said, Sean, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have, and we've seen this. Event happen in many many times. But I think what's different, and we were telling Sean, was in most catastrophic or typhoons, you have a different type of response to this one. And I said it was very important we created a different system, because usually in a calamity like Ondoy, you have a disaster, and you have a lot of people, but then you have lack of goods, right? Lack of logistics. In today's environment, no, we have all of that. What we lack is people. And so we had to find a way of solving this, because we knew the people in the front line, which you're seeing today, almost 290,000 requests on items, and myself and Vicky having a very difficult time fulfilling it. Not because there's not enough pledgers out there. There's so many people that want to pledge, but how can I pledge when I'm stuck up in my house? And so we had to find a solution for this immediately.
So one thing that's interesting, Jojo, is when you begin with target stakeholders, which is another way of saying who are the human beings that we're going to do this for, right? I mean, it's a very human question. We have to define who the people are. It immediately allows you to go out of the confines of your four walls as an industrial corporation that does home appliances, air cons, refrigerators, and all that, right? And when you focus on target stakeholders, it brings you to a point where you can innovate more broadly, because you're just thinking about human beings and who you can help instead of defining problems within the context of your traditional business.
Well, our motto basically is mission is about making better lives, right? Giving people better lives and businesses in there. And this is just an offshoot of that on a bigger sense, right? Our main mission was how do we get the needed stuff basically to the people in the front line, to the hospitals and institutions. And so it was just looking at it from a different framework, and not sticking so much to the trees, but looking as, hey, everything we do has to do something with creating some good, right? So a better good there in environment, social cause, or something. That's what we generally do as a company. And this was just a part of it, right? A part of what we're doing. And so how do we use our skills and capabilities to make that happen, right? And that's what we were looking at.
Okay, thank you, Jojo. Now we're going to turn it over to the audience, and this should be the most fun part. Miguel, can we go back to your screen sharing as we set up the audience to participate now? Miguel will take us back to stop number 1 for we created a session draft, which is called 100-hour Concepcion. So this is now the session draft, and we will go through this together. So as you can see, we're going to do the solo workout first. There are 183 people in this webcast. And now we must imagine ourselves as 183 people in 183 different rocket ships. It's up to us to define and configure our own rocket ships. So I said we will go deep, we will go across, around, and we will go fast. So we will give you now, like I said, if this will be very uncomfortable for many of us, and that is what we're here for. Some of you have already been given accounts, so you can edit directly into this application. You can write this in, and it's very important that we do write this in. So there are a couple of blanks there. We are going to, basically, for the people in the audience who do not have access to the account, you can do either of a couple of things. You can just write it down in your own pad paper or your own devices, or you can, there's a chat screen there. You can throw your answers into the chat screen. For those of us who have access to the application, please go ahead and enter your replies, because then we can simulate and show the audience how peer exchanges happen. Again, this is all up to you. The questions are, number 1, describe the target stakeholder who will benefit from your project, from your rocket ship. How have you encountered them in meaningful ways, and why do you care about solving their problems? And then you can just, so those are basically the 2 questions. We are gonna give each other 3 minutes. There's a timer that's gonna go on, and then we're gonna do a peer exchange. So again, let your imagination, both your heart and your mind, soar, and answer this for yourself. This is not in the Iggy app. This is at app.100hours.vc. You can see it on screen. Miguel, if you could put your cursor. app.100hours.vc for those who want to create their own accounts. app.100hours.vc. All right, but it is not necessary. You will be able to do this on paper for now. Okay, so shall we start the timer? Describe the target stakeholder who will benefit from our project. Ken, can we start the timer, please?
I'm showing the questions again, so you can look at it. For those that aren't in the app, for those that are in the app, please please click save so that your answers go into the next stage. Thank you.
All right, time is up. Miguel, you're gonna take us through your exchange.
Okay, let me just like. Okay, well, right now we've got 2 answers.
That's Miguel and I.
Yeah.
And as you can see, our answers are pretty focused because that's what we do. We're focused on business leaders. So the rest of you who are on the app need to be on this project. Some of you might be in the app, but you started a different project. So obviously we're not going to see your, we had, Miguel, if you could, let
me go back.
My projects, go to 100H Concepcion. If you could go to stop number 2 so we can show the collaborators here, so we can alert them. This is in your inbox. So the collaborators in this project are Jojo, Vicky, Joey, Wincor, Bong, Tayamora, Teng Baliwag, Cassius Manalon, Ronald Ang, AA Albano, Bat, Mylene, Melanie Acosta, Ronald, and so on and so forth. So some of you have not gotten the email alerting you that you are in this session. But let's go around. Maybe we can hear from Jojo again and then from his people. If you were to start another project and launch it very quickly, who would be the target stakeholder that would be of interest to you, Jojo? Would it be employees? Would it be your dealers? Would it be end customers? Who would it be? Jo, don't forget to unmute your mic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you
there you go.
repeat the question?
Yeah. So if you were to launch a new project, not similarly that you want to launch very quickly in 100 hours or less, we start with the same question, right? Who would your target stakeholder be in this case?
I would say, if let's look at it from a company perspective, right? Let's
Yes.
not look at it from outside. Right now, my target, what do you call this? My target market will be really that end customer out there, right? And the reason for that, and the reason I'm looking at that, is that the traditional system now of fulfilling our products to our retail stores is one that has been what do you call this? It's not going to happen. It's going to have a lot of difficulties, right? And so we need to find a different way, very fast, to reach our customers out in the field, because there's no stores.
Right.
You're not going to see a mall for the next month or so. So how are we going to sell as a company and reach our customers in that short environment, right? And
Okay.
so that for me would be a topic, right?
Let's keep it there for a while. So that's your target stakeholder, which is very interesting for Concepcion. I'd like to point out, because traditionally you've always gone through dealers. Of course,
Yes.
the dealer network is now, as you said, disrupted. It's the new normal, right? People aren't necessarily going to be able to go to stores. So target stakeholder in Jojo's case is the end customer. Anybody else? Give us a sense of who your target stakeholders might be. For your own organization, if you're part of Concepcion, if you're part of HR or sales or R&D, or if you're not from Concepcion, if we have guests here from Accenture, from Unilab, who would your target stakeholders be? Just as a way of sharing and learning from each other. Floor is open. Just unmute your mic.
Yeah, Andre, this is Arvin Yasman. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I'm from
Arvin.
Accenture. I lead our Liquid Studio Manila as well as our innovation group. No? So I think we leverage design thinking, and I think the methodology that you're using is very similar to design thinking. And what we found is that the stakeholder typically is a person that is behind the stated stakeholder. So when our clients come to us with a problem statement, it's a very well-written problem statement, but we actually take the time to do our own fieldwork, do our own observation, interview the supposed stakeholders. And normally we find in our experience that the real stakeholders are the people behind stated stakeholders. So really, well, there has to be a lot of research and fieldwork that has to be done. And usually interviews and observations are the best way to uncover who the real stakeholders are.
Right. So if you were to run this simulation for yourself, Arvin, thank you very much for joining us, by the way. I'm so glad to have you. If you were to run this simulation for yourself in your own given context right now, and you wanted to launch something, who would you choose as a target stakeholder for yourself?
It's hard to answer. We're a global IT services company, right? So typically our stakeholders would be our clients. But again, when you take the design thinking approach, we look at number one, our clients, so the end users, the end customers. But
Right.
we also look at internally their employees, particularly in this time of upheaval. One of the key initiatives that we have been helping our clients with is actually helping enable their employees to be able to work from home, to feel safe, and to be productive from home as well.
Right.
So there's a whole design thinking framework called territory mapping, which is very helpful in uncovering who these different stakeholders are. And again, I think that's one design or device that can be used to uncover who the potential the new stakeholders can be as well in a changed setting.
Very good. Thanks for that, Arvin. Anybody else with a different stakeholder in mind? Bear in mind, this is about launching fast.
Hey, hi, Andre. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is Roldan. So
Dan,
I've actually also, yep. Hi, good afternoon. I've actually also inputted it in the site. So what I thought of as my target stakeholder is also the Filipino home, but the context is very targeted to being able to provide a very easy and convenient means for a Filipino home to continue to have access to food, medicine, and all other household items that previously everyone had access to. But I feel that under this new normal, and whilst we are under ECQ or whatever variations of quarantine the government will need to put in place to protect lives, there must be a better way for the Filipino home manager to still continue to have access to these goods and or services. I'm seeing a lot of different big Viber groups and Facebook chats that are singular in purpose, which is all about making it easy for everyone to have access, but the information is all over. And how can we just make that experience a bit more pleasant, but provide the convenience as part of building better lives for the Filipinos under these trying times and circumstances? Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Dan is, of course, from Concepcion Industries, and it's interesting because Concepcion has been selling to the Filipino home for the better part of its 60-year life. And so Dan talking about expanding the range, perhaps expanding the range of solutions they bring to the home from just air conditioners to, as he writes out here, food, medicines, household supplies, while focusing on the same target stakeholder that they've always served for the last 60 years, which is the Filipino home, is pretty interesting. Thank you, Dan. Others who
Andre,
have, yeah, please.
Andre, this
Please,
is Bernie
go ahead.
Villegas. Yes, I'd like to.
Guys, welcome.
Yes, I'd like to follow up the idea of food. I think there should be a lot of emphasis now on urban gardening. You know, with all the problems of bringing vegetables from Trinidad Valley and et cetera, you know, all the problems with LGUs. If we can just, even under normal circumstances, encourage a lot of private people, especially in Laguna, Cavite, Batangas. There's still so much agricultural land there. Small plots, no, probably just 1,000 square meters that can be planted to all types of high value crops. It's already being done by a group of people. I'm sure you've heard of the Kapatid Mentoring of Jojo Concepcion and Company. But I think this has to be emphasized now. After this crisis, the new normal should be a lot of high value food should be grown very close to the National Capital Region. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs, not necessarily farmers, but doctors, lawyers, and so on and so forth, who would like also to do weekend farming as long as they really have experts. I call them agribusiness technicians, who will make sure that they do things properly. I think this is one thing that we have been reminded of. Food security is very, very, whether in normal times or abnormal times. No?
So, Bernie, thank you for sharing your perspective on that. Let me just clarify a few things, Bernie, if you could stay with us. By the way, your camera, I don't know if it's intentional, but your camera is only showing your ceiling. Just want to alert you on that.
Okay, can you see me now?
And no, yes, better. Better. Yes, there is Dr. Bernie. It's very good to see you, sir.
Yeah.
let me probe a little bit more. Yes, perfect. Now let me probe a little bit more about what you said, because in the methodology that we're following, we don't start with the problem or the idea of the solution. We focus very squarely on who the human being is that we will commit to launching this rocket ship for. So if Bernie Villegas, as he's talking about this solution right now, or this opportunity, were to launch this rocket ship, who would this rocket ship be for? Who would your target stakeholder be for in this food supply idea that you're talking about? Would it be the farmers or would it be the consumers?
Households and supermarkets right now are really being main places where people can go to get all types of food. And it's not really rice, all this. It's really vegetables, carrots, lettuce, and so on and so forth. And I think we should stop expecting them to come from far away. I think there should be enough interest in suppliers close enough to Manila. That's where we should have some kind of a project to get people interested in urban farming and team up with companies like Harvest, like Seeds. There are a few other companies that provide technical help. But we need also a new professional. He should be called the agribusiness technician, who is not a Los Baños graduate, but is probably 2 years of senior high school learning how precisely to manage these urban farms around Metro Manila. I think that's the concept that we're working on, yes.
All right. Bernie, you're far ahead of us. We want to deconstruct your idea step by step. If you'll stay with us, please. It's a very compelling idea that we want to deconstruct step by step so that our audience can follow on how you constructed this opportunity in your head.
Well, there are already these two examples. I'm sure you've heard of Flor Tariela, a top banker,
yes,
who is growing high-value crops in Antipolo. And there's so many people like her who can sometimes do it as a hobby, but I think we should do it now really for addressing food security in metropolitan areas, whether in Manila, Cebu, Iloilo, Davao, etc.
All right. Thank you, Bernie. We'll jump back in the next round. We will jump right back to your idea. No, thank you so much. From the audience, one more input about who the target stakeholder is that they have in mind. We're trying to gather as many varieties here to jumpstart the thinking of all of us. Anybody else with another target stakeholder?
Hi.
Yes.
This is Bob.
Hello, Bab. Good to see you again.
Hi, good afternoon. What I have in mind is for our grandparents as a stakeholder. Had an opportunity and experience to actually, or at least my husband, to buy medicines for our grandparents. And we've seen that there are a lot of elders that fall in line at the heat, and they are the most vulnerable in this situation. If there is a situation where we can actually go to the houses of our elders and get their needs, whether it's medicine or food, so that they don't need to go out. I am surprised that there are a lot still of senior citizens that risk themselves and risk their lives to go out to buy their needs.
Right. Bap, that's valuable. No, this is an example of, there's this saying in particularly if you're startup, which is to say nowadays, even if you're a big business, you might be in the business of starting up a lot of new solutions very quickly. So you're still in the business of startups. There's this saying that if you're launching a new product, it's better for you in the very beginning to build something that 10 people will really love, rather than 1,000 people will be lukewarm about. And this is the value of being very focused on a stakeholder as narrowly defined to begin with, as for example, what BAP is giving us, which is the grandparents, because they have their pain points, which is our next stop, are going to be very, very specific to them. And then it actually delineates even further if you're talking about grandparents, for example, in urban areas versus grandparents in rural areas, etc., etc. So I want to thank you for that, Bap. Please stick around because we're gonna check in on you again on the next stop as we dive deeper into what is their pain point. So Miguel, on that, yes, Arvin Yuson is correctly pointing out that it's the concept of extreme users that we just talked about. Okay, so the next stop, as Miguel will lead us through, is stop number 4. It's zeroing in on the target problem. No, so the target problem here is now specific to the stakeholder that we chose. So each of us in our own rocket ships thought about a target stakeholder. For Jojo, it's the end customers. I'm just going to recap off the top of my head who these stakeholders were. For Jojo Concepcion, it was the end customer. For Bernie Villegas, it's the consumers of produce, be that homeowners. For Dan Natindin, same thing. It was home, people at the home. So actually, if you think about it, there is a convergence there on zeroing in on people in the home. But of course, that in itself has many different stratifications, as BAP pointed out that there is a special class of people who are stuck in their homes right now, which is our elderly, our grandparents. So on that note, for whoever it is that you chose as your stakeholder, if we can go through the stop, describe the key pain points of our target stakeholders that we seek to address. So at this point, there is a tendency to just jump right in, no? But we are going to keep to the discipline. We're going to give you this time for this solo workout so that we can catch up with time. We're going to give you 90 seconds to get through this. The prompts again are for your target stakeholder. Describe the key pain point that you seek to address. Really, please get into it. Get into their psyche. Get into their shoes, so to speak. What is the pain point? And if you could comment also that given this particular time of crisis, how has that pain point worsened for your target stakeholder? Because this now provides you with a very good grounds by which to launch, right? Because you have discovered their problems in more depth. Okay, please go ahead. For those who are in the app, go right ahead to input your 90 seconds. If we could start the timer, please.
Okay.
All right, we got 10 seconds left. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we go deep, we go fast, and we go across. So now we're gonna go across, meaning we're gonna learn from each other again. We're gonna pick up ideas from each other. Miguel, if we could start quick and dirty with our session draft, please.
There. All right.
Yeah, you need to screencast again.
Oh, it's not there. Give me a second.
No. So while we're doing our screencasting,
Okay, give me a second. Let me just get back. All right.
All right. So Miguel says having to navigate through a space that is new. That is the pain point. I threw in the pain point again. My stakeholder was the CEOs and their 1 downs, 2 downs, and 3 downs. No, so to me the target pain is leadership in a time of Corona. There are 3 interrelated pains that we're focusing on. Number 1 is that the CEOs need to refocus their people who are overwhelmed with fear, misinformation, fake news, panic, business unusual. So there's a lot of things, people that need to be refocused. Number 2, quite apart from refocusing, they need to reorganize their people and their teams who are completely disrupted in all the things that are familiar to them, all the things that are comfortable to them, which is, by the way, that's bad, obviously, but it can also be very good in surprising ways, no? Because now your people are disrupted, nothing is familiar. That could actually be the opening for you to do things that you've always wanted to do before, but that people were too comfortable to try. No? So we wanted to focus in on those pain points / opportunities. Number 3, ultimately, the pain point for the top leaders is to mobilize their teams to deliver solutions when they are needed in days. In times of crisis, and most companies are not equipped and not calibrated to over and over again. Maybe they can do it once or twice, but over and over again across the value chain. How do you do that in days? And we were particularly cognizant of the fact that part of the pain point is you can't exactly hire consultants and do studies in a time like this. No, so that clues you in already on why we created an app that they can download and cascade to their people. No, okay, so that's an example of our stakeholders and their pain points. Now we're going to turn it over, let's say, back to Jojo. And then may I ask Miguel to maybe scan through our chat to see if there are particularly interesting points here that we can pick up and chime in. But for now, Jojo Concepcion,
Yep.
your target stakeholder. In stop number 1, you said it was going to be in a novel
Consumers.
category, right? Your consumers, your end consumers. So what are their pain points that you're going to zero in on right now?
So especially today, where the virus is going on, and very much paramount is the safety and security of the home, right? And remember, our goal was to eventually we wanted to own the home, right? And so if you can see now, because the home, protecting this home environment is very important, is that safety of that home. And let me expand that a little, is you don't want, of course, yourself going out of the home. You want to be very clear when you go out. You don't want to bring the virus back into your home and then infect your children or your older parents. As well as the other side of the equation is you don't want people coming into your home, our service technicians, to coming in your home and bringing that virus. So, the challenge really and the pain points we're trying to solve is how do I set up an organization and how do I mobilize our organization to be able to now deliver, given that safety and security of the family and him, needing to buy goods, needing to repair the air conditioners, to do this. How do I make it simple for him so that he can still continue to have a new normal life, but with safety and security as the key fundamentals of key priorities of delivering those services that we need to.
So that's valuable. Thank you very much for that, Jojo. I mean, let me just fan your flames, no? I came across a couple of Viber messages yesterday. Nowadays, every day there's a different theme to the Viber messages that are going around.
Yeah.
3 days ago, it was about that Sunday meeting amongst business executives and how one of them did it. Yesterday, the theme went something like this. Guys, I'm sure you got this message via Viber, no? It went something like this. I have like 10 friends and all of them have homes quarantined, like they behave, right? But like 5 of them are sick now. And about the only thing that could have gotten them sick was the only thing they went out for was grocery. So now there's all sorts of Viber messages with infographics about how do you disinfect when you go out, when you come back in, your clothes, your shoes, your grocery. So this is exactly like a very sharp, very focused pain point of the stakeholder that Jojo is talking about. So again, when we want to launch solutions very fast, we want to go deep on the problem, right?
Correct.
So holding that thought, Jojo, because the next stop will be now developing on that. Let's hear from other people.
Sure. Great.
Miguel, did we pick up any good ones over the chat?
Yes. Well, over the chat, there's one from, well, here, there's a couple actually. There's Crystal Joyce Dapilo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you want to share her answer?
Hi, this is Krista. So I work for
Krista.
and the mission of the company really is to empower people to control their diabetes. So in the crisis that we are in right now, I think it's pretty hard for them to get the medical support. So the stakeholder would be the diabetic who needs support in getting basic care. So the pain point is accessing the basic care like test strips, the right food, medical help. Depriving them to manage their health. So it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Crystal. That's fascinating. In the US, they have to set up, in New York, for example, they're setting up entire Navy ships as makeshift hospitals, not for the COVID patients, but for precisely these types of patients who are not sick with COVID, but cannot go to the normal hospitals because they're inundated with COVID. So it sounds somewhat like similar pain points that you're talking about. Thanks for bringing that up. Miguel, if anybody wants to speak up, just turn on your mic, please. Otherwise, Miguel is just going to keep on reading from our chat room.
Yeah, so there's one here from Joey Pacheco. I'm a corporate training consultant. Would you want to share this, Joey?
Go ahead, Joey. Don't forget to unmute your mic. Tell us about the pain points of your target stakeholder. All right, so while we're waiting for Joey, could you read it off? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll read it out. I'm a corporate training consultant. So his stakeholders are companies and their employees. And the pain point is disengaged employees while working from home. Companies are unable to train their staff, i.e. learn from home, anxiety and boredom among employees.
Right. Well, that's certainly something we all recognize in various ways, shapes, or forms. Thank you for that, Joey. While Miguel is picking up the next one, we'll go a couple of more rounds in this peer exchange. Bear in mind, right, when you are doing this, when you're actually doing the Launchpad exercise, and it's not a drill, we're in a kind of a drill right now, right? Each one of us has their own ledgers, and there is no consensus building. In the actual Launchpad, when you're doing this, you're working as a team of between 5 to 7 to sometimes 12, 15. As you're going through these peer exchanges, you're gravitating and you're converging on an iterated response. And as you leave each stop, you're building consensus, and you're progressing from there. That was certainly the experience of our team in launching the 6 products that we have launched in the last 20 days. It always starts with individual ideas, then we iterate very quickly through peer reviews, peer exchanges, and then we go step by step. So other ideas from the audience is, I promised Bernie Villi, I guess he would have the mic again. Bernie, did you want to share with us the pain points in particular that your target stakeholders, the consumers of vegetables, produce, are experiencing? Please go ahead, Bernie.
Yes, well, if you will notice, right now in urban areas, supermarkets and other stores are open precisely, and you see that the great demand is for what people consider as healthy food, fruits, vegetables. And as I said, we still depend on faraway places, and with all the lockdown and all the lack of coordination between the national and local government, there has been a serious problem. And that is why I think we should rethink where the supply comes from these high-value crops. And as I said, there's so much agricultural land interspersed with urban areas in Calabar zone. And I think that's where we should really have some system. Even the banks should be very proactive and really be very willing to give loans I'm not talking about farmers. Poor farmers cannot have the savings to be able to invest. This will have to be middle class households, and there are that I know. In fact, retired executives go into farming. No?
Yes.
And yes.
So, Bernie,
Yes.
I think what you're zeroing on is it could be looked at as a pain point or an opportunity as well, in that one of the byproducts of this episode that we're all going through all over the world is that there will now, from now on, I hope it persists, there will be a renewed sense of attention and care being focused on one's health. No, not just
Exactly. Yeah.
not just once not being sick, but proactively.
Yes.
Am I healthing? Am I eating good food? Am I boosting my immune system? Right? I mean, very few people
Exactly.
really are taking care of their immune system, of keeping their stress levels down. So if somebody could zero in on that pain point or that gain point, if you want to put it that way, and what you're pointing out is with the heightened demand for health and well-being and nutrition, and a boosted immune system, where is the supply chain going to come from? And you're suggesting already, as our economist, on a macroeconomic level, that it should not come from traditional supply chains, but rather we should look at pockets, hyperlocal, not hyperlocal, but more localized supply chains as opposed to far-flung supply chains. So again, very interesting notions there that we want to thank you for, Bernie. So we will pick you up again on the next stop. We have more audience.
Probably, Andre.
Yeah.
We can look at the app. There's some.
Oh yeah, please go ahead. Let's go back to that.
Okay, so okay, well, we have Dan here again.
Roland,
Dan, would you want to share?
Yeah. So while waiting for Dan to come in, he's talking about. Is he there?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm here.
Dan, talk to us. Yeah.
No, it's really pursuing that. So it's also linked to the conversation earlier where your supply chain is going to be very much constrained with restrictions on mobility and logistics. So how do we probably do more creative sourcing, but then the distribution is the pain point today. So you've got groups of households all trying to consolidate orders of whatever the needs are, but there is no visibility on when and or where the materials and or the goods could come from. So how would that supply chain and or the distribution gonna look like as part of that new normal in this changing times?
Very good. Thanks, Dan.
Great, Dan.
Okay, we have time for one more, and then we're going to move on to the next stop. But as you can see, there are patterns here to what Jojo, Bernie, and Dan have been cluing us on. And on the B2B side, between Joey Pacheco and us in Ignite, where we're looking at organizations and what their pain points are. So if you're focusing on your stakeholder, you will start digging up pain points that are congruent with who they are and how you can serve them. One last person, please.
May I make a point? Yeah. May I make a point to Angie? Yes. Yeah. Now that you have a lot of units, you have hundreds of units in one specific project, and these are the people who need most food security. I think there should be a movement to develop consumer cooperatives among these households. And they're sophisticated households, easier to organize a cooperative among them. So that would be one way of attaining economies of scale of the consumers, and then deal with some of the suppliers I'm referring to will go into urban gardening. So this could be another new concept of consumer cooperatives among condominium unit owners.
Got it. All right, this is getting hot, boys and girls. I'm feeling hot. I'm feeling like the heat is on, like we're about to launch something here. So at this point, again, you each have your own rocket ships. I hope your fuel is starting to combust. We're not quite ready to launch yet. Let's go on to the next stop. And you'll see this as a pretty interesting stop. Miguel, can we go back to?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
As we're going through these stops, again, I remind you, you are in your own rocket ships. Continue building your own rocket ships. So take your target stakeholder, take your target stakeholder's pain points, and go with us to this next stop. We're going to go deep, we're going to go around, and we're going to go fast. All right, number 5, solo workout.
Okay.
Number 5,
Yes.
zeroing in on the vision of impact. This is not a vision statement, boys and girls. This is not a vision statement. This is a delta statement of what changes from the current situation and its pain point to what is your desired destination. What does that look like? Okay. So some examples from feeling alone about their situation to, Miguel, if you could move your cursor, please. Feeling connected with kindred spirits that they share the same problems and seek the same solutions. So what we're saying here is we're taking you through the discipline of going deep and formulating the pain point that you zeroed in on, formulating it into a from statement. From, this is where we're starting from. And then envisioning what is the desired end state when you have achieved your intervention. So, take your target decoder, take your target pain, and then we're going to go 60 seconds here, but not before Miguel has something to say. Please, go ahead, Miguel.
Yeah, probably Andre, just to point out that you're not thinking of a solution for this. I mean, you're basically trying to see, what type of changes do I want to happen? So when you go to your to statement, don't write a solution. If it's a noun, probably it's not where you want to go at this point. All right. Again, we're really just crafting some sort of a problem statement around this.
All right. So this is the vision of impact. 60 seconds starts now. Let's get going with the from to statements. All right, I believe that time is up. I did say that we were going to make this uncomfortable. That speed is sometimes uncomfortable if we're not used to it. So right now we are gonna go back to our peer exchange through the app first. Miguel, if you could take us through it.
All right.
Okay, so let's start with Ignite's situation. Again, our target stakeholders are, to recap, business leaders, in this time where there's so much that they need to refocus and reorganize. So Miguel's Delta statement is not knowing how to navigate in this new normal, from not knowing to being agile and adaptive in times of vulnerability. In my case, as you can see, I entered this less than a minute ago, from CEOs and senior leaders having to figure it out and wing it on the fly. I mean, let's admit it, a lot of us are doing this. I am doing this. From leaders having to figure it out and wing it on the fly, and then having to recascade and again and again down through the ranks, to having a step-by-step toolkit that they can deploy down through the ranks that addresses the burning need at every level of the organization to refocus to reorganize the teams in order to mobilize solutions, especially when solutions are needed in days. So how do you do that so that you can just cascade it and you're arming your team, whether it's your 1 downs, your 2 downs, or your 3 downs, so it's clear. I saw something streaming in from Joey Pacheco. Since he has the same thread, maybe we could read up his from to Delta statement, Miguel.
Okay, give me a second.
I just saw something from Joey Pacheco. I'll try to dig it up myself. Okay, so
There. So
well,
from traditional live
live program,
in-house training programs to remote learning with the same level of effectiveness.
Very nicely done, Joey. It's very specific on both the from and the to statement, and that gives you sort of a clear launch pad or launch path for how you're going to construct. You did not say how you're going to construct it, but your vision of where you need to get to is very clear. So now let's go back to our live interpolators. Jojo, Concepcion, what is your from to statement?
Mine's very simple, right? It's from worry and concern to assurance. Very simple is how can I be assured? So that's what you want to get to, an assurance that I keep my family safe in this time and place.
Okay, yeah. Lack of assurance for sure is the operative word for all of us nowadays. Nobody, I think, in the right mind is assured nowadays. So if you can give me assurance, I would really love it. When can you deliver this, Jojo? This assurance? You know my address?
Basically, when we're doing, there's a lot of thoughts in mind that will give you assurances, right? I mean, there's a lot of programs. And by the way, assurance is no guarantee, but at least if I can give you something that's 80, 90%, and we have a lot of programs out there which we've talked about that can give me a certain level of guarantee, then that gives me the confidence level. I think that's what we're looking for. People are looking for confidence levels today, right?
Very good. Thank you. So, who's next? Who's going to speak up next?
There's an interesting one here, Andre, on the app.
Show us, please.
So from Cassius Manalon.
Yeah.
Would he I want to share?
Cassie, I want to hear
Hello,
you again. Hello.
Hello, Andre. Long time no hear.
Sige. Tell us.
With the current situation, there's a lot of challenge for servicing. Even in this COVID quarantine, there's still a lot of service requests. So I think the future for servicing now should be using the technology, remote assistance. The traditional face-to-face engagement should be limited, of course, because of the fear in contracting or infecting others.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. So being a service guy all throughout, this is my concern now.
Well, to give a little bit of context to the public out there, Cassie Manalon is a real warrior. He's one of the leaders of Concepcion's service business. He's the one who sends armies of technicians to the homes to get the aircons either cleaned up or fixed. I can tell you this is a real problem nowadays. With all of us being home so much, we're running the aircons. 3 times already my aircon has not conked out. It's just shut off like it's possessed. I have to go to the circuit breaker and fix it. Now, on a normal times, I would have called the technician and they would have sent somebody over. But of course, there's no way I'm going to let anybody into my house, right? So, what you're saying is exactly, again, the from to there is very clear. Anybody else?
Hey, Andre, your solution there is you should buy a carrier.
Aha. Okay. Actually, I'm about ready to replace this Panasonic.
Got you there.
Yeah, send one to me, please.
Yeah.
You know my address. Okay. Actually, send me 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you the specs.
Yep.
Somebody else.
There's one in the chat
Yes, please.
Richard Parsha. So he says here, oh, what do you want to read it out?
Dr. Richard Parsha, go ahead.
Oh, just to ride on that new normal thing. One of the things that sort of was brought out by this pandemic is that most of the people have sort of realized the value of work-life effectiveness and balance, you know. And unlike before, when you go to work, you know, you spend 8 to 5. You know, sometimes people spend 12 hours in the office and go back to their houses and spend time with their family. One of the things of what we call the new normal is that, you know, once you actually combine a lot of these things right now. So it's no longer a linear 8 to 5 work. You go home, you take on the street and go home and get your family, and you do your stuff and go back again to work the following day. So this kind of new, I mean, or discovery, you know, we need to find a way that how we would actually enable people to actually, you know, would demand this kind of normal already from not only from themselves but from the employers that they're actually working for.
So perfect, Richard. If you remember a few months ago, in our Ignite Concepcion Fellowship, we talked about launching MVPs for remote work. MVPs for remote work, right? How appreciate. I am now hearing. Can you guys hear me? Somebody just say if they can hear me. Hey, as addressing Richard's point, one of the things that we really have to wonder about, and I'm sure a lot of us have hypotheses about this, is, you know, we've always talked about, has audio gone bad? Miguel, for example, could you confirm if you can still hear me A-okay?
Yep, it's
Okay,
good on my end.
All right, anybody who cannot hear me, just a sound check. All right, okay. So my point was to build on Richard's point. We always used to talk about remote work, but just talk about it. Nowadays, it's been forced on us, and a lot of people are maybe not going to want to go back to the old normal, right? I, for one, have really enjoyed working from home. I'm twice as productive. I don't have to deal with traffic. I am like twice as productive, and I'm twice as focused. So I wonder how many more people are going to be like that. And if that happens, that's going to create a bunch of new needs, new opportunities that we can zero in on. Okay, time for one more. Vision of impact. Just turn on your mic. Otherwise, we're going to run to the next stop, and you can certainly pitch in your next iteration there.
Andy, just one more thought. Huh?
Yes.
Andre.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the challenge to parents is what to do with their little children. And my thinking is more and more, you should really early learning center, secured subdivision, secured condominium units. And again, here's the cooperative movement. Parents should really have some way of cooperating to put up early learning centers that can be right in their subdivision or condominium units, which they can secure. And I think this should be more and more now the policy. Instead of sending their children to faraway places, they could be within. I'm talking about early learning centers, no? So
Yeah.
from 0 to 6 years old. So there are a lot of people who are doing that. You know, I know that Danny Moran is doing that with his Parents for Education Foundation, but I'm sure it's going to be, there's so many potential educators among others that can go into some kind of entrepreneurial venture in early learning centers. So.
Yes, that's another sector that definitely has to go through a new normal. Just not I mean, every facet of education at every level, no. Especially, guys, the smart money on this COVID pandemic. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're all laughing at me 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now. But the smart money seems to be that this is going to come in waves. So it's not like it's going to be over by June, right? So if this persists, then this new normal also has to persist, and we got to figure out how to get on with our lives while dealing with this. And you know, we can't stop education of our kids, So how are we going to do it, right? One of my neighbors owns the second biggest network, maybe the largest network now of homeschooling. Bernie's talking about community schooling. I mean, probably the most logical thing there is to bring it to the homeschooling, no? But again, that creates its own set of needs, its own set of opportunities, etc. So, Miguel, why don't you take us to the next stop? Miguel? By the way, can you still hear me, everybody? All right.
Hi, Andre. This is Joanna. We can hear you, but Miguel just lost his audio.
He's gonna come back. While he's on his way back, I will take you through it. Let me go through it. I will do the screen sharing for now. You hold on. I think we lost Miguel for a little bit. I'm gonna do my screen sharing as we go to the next stop. Hold on. Okay, everybody can see my screen? It's loading? Yes, you should be able to see my screen right now. So I am going to take us through the next stop of the same project. So now we just went from stop 3, 4, and 5. Altogether, 3, 4, and 5 constitute what we call the problem discovery phase. So now from here on, 6 to 10, we go into problem solving phase. It's important to stack these as two different stacks. Why? Most people, when they want to run into projects, whether it's long-term projects, long-term builds, or in this case, quick builds, the excitement is usually to jump right into number 6, ideate solutions. It goes into ideas, right? It's being done here, it's being done there. Why don't we do this? An Uber for this, a Facebook for that, all sorts of ideas. What we just took you through, very importantly, is the foundational elements of launching deep, going fast, which is spend time on problem discovery. Because if you want to go fast, you're going to get things wrong, right? For sure, you're going to get things wrong. That's what iterations are for. But if you got the foundational elements wrong, for example, you're not solving the right problems, you're not even focused on the right stakeholder, right? Then you're going to have to undo more things. So with that said, let's go into the next solo workout, which is ideate solutions. At this point, I just want to do a sound check. Is Miguel around?
Not yet, Andre.
Okay. Well, at least I am not alone in outer space. I know you can hear me. All right. So the solo workout in this stop number 6 is about ideating solutions, right? So the example here is generate as much as ideas as possible we're not going to get 15 minutes here, no? So generate this is where we have to go back to your vision of impact. Remember your from to statements. Now you have to ideate how you're going to make the from to statements come true. All right. So what are the different ideas to make your from to statement come true? For this, we will give each other 3 minutes. Okay. Again, for those of you who are in the app, go right ahead, stick it in. If not, throw it into the chat, and we will see each other for the peer exchange in 3 minutes. And may I ask the timer to be set, please? Thank you. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, we got 60 seconds left. Try to generate as many ideas. Don't censor your ideas too much in this rapid prototyping stage. But again, focus your ideas on ideas that will make your from to statements come true.
I'm back, Andre.
Oh, hey, Miguel. Miguel, for our peer review, if we could just go back to the origin story. I did not transfer anymore my answers to the subsidiary, to the session draft. When you screencast. Miguel, is
Okay.
it on? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna go back to Miguel's screencast and start again with our answers in the app while we line up people from the audience. So Miguel, you're gonna screencast. Okay, so this was some of our answers. Again, our from to statement is to make it easy for CEOs and senior management to cascade focus, organization, and banging out things in a number of days, down through the ranks. How do you do that in a time like this? So obviously, our first rapid prototype idea was to create a digital app that makes it easy for teams to navigate the steps from zero to launch as a step-by-step process. And then if we scroll down, Miguel, we also noted that we needed to simulate these key behaviors. Rapid prototyping, how do you do that as a solo workout by yourself first? Then how do you facilitate peer exchanges? And how do you facilitate the feedback and iteration and doing that in real time? So those were some of the parameters that we zeroed in on. Why? Because these are methodologies that we don't just preach about or do in workshops. These are methodologies we practice. So going back to those 8 milestones, the projects that we've launched in the last 10, 15, 20 days, all of them went through the same methodologies. So we wanted to be able to simulate that in whatever solution we were going to offer. And last but not least, we also started to write copy, okay? How are we gonna convey what this is all about? So in the copy, I don't know if Miguel can bring out the, I have it in my iPad, the exact same ones that we had in Tally. I'm gonna flash it on screen. If you give me a second here.
I have the sketches over here.
You have the sketch that is about where we where was that? I can't find it, but the one where we anyway, if we could go back to
These ones?
that's the first sketch of the application. What's this other one? Okay, this is what's happening in each of the layers. You can see there are prompts in each of the layers. And then this one. Okay, this one, as you can see, we were writing out the copy for how we were going to convey what this is all about. So right there in Tally, we were as a group iterating. So to help leaders, you can run to hundreds of your people in the workplace to produce. So if you go back to the Miguel, the origin story, there's a very interesting tidbit there that I wanted to share.
Okay.
In terms of the language that we had in prototyping now to convey this. The origin story.
Over here.
We're not seeing your screen, Miguel.
There?
Okay, there. Yeah, so we wanted to convey speed from start to finish about everything we were doing. So we went from a concept of calling it days to actually saying 10 days to saying 240 hours until we got it down to 100 hours. And all these iterations we did in 24 hours because we were also comparing notes in real time with each other. No? So that's our story of the rapid prototype ideas that we had in order to make our vision of impact come true, our from to statement come true. So can we hear from the audience now? I'm not gonna call on people now, so it's just all based on the strength of your ideas and wanting to share. Excuse me. Anybody have ideas that they want to share about how to make their visions, their from to statements come true?
Andre, let me start.
Yes, Jojo.
Several ideas, and we've been using this. Obviously, everyone's talking e-commerce, but I think more than e-commerce, it's. I think Bernie has also mentioned it. It's community stores, community engagements. Schools would have to come to safer communities, right, rather than going to bigger schools because of the social distancing. So we start to look at how does that affect. Those are stores, those are services. Then third is, how do we create, and this is what we're looking, a certification program, and where I can go to your place and give you the guarantee that I have been tested, I have been temperature checked, I use alcohol, I have my mask, right, and certified to you that as an individual, basically, that I follow these good behaviors, and I am most likely not, contaminated to do that. And by the way, you can do apps also of close proximity, that just in case I'm close to you and I got infected, then something will be sent to you confidentially right away so that you can take precautions. So, you take all these 3 and 4 and put them together, and there is a potential for that. This is what we're looking at.
Yeah, great, thank you. Anybody else want to show their rapid prototype ideas?
We have some ideas here from Joey again.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so it says here, use technology and what the remote learning might have. So a phone, tablet, laptop, use simple, readily available software, make use of downloadable, easy reference guides, have learning checks via gamification, give badges, make modules that are fun, short, and sweet, have solo homework and group partner work, use detailed checklists of skills required, make myself available for offline discussions, and learners who submit their videotape presentations.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Joey.
Okay, so we have Crystal Joyce Dapilos. I think that's next. Very interesting. I want to hear actually the continuation of the story. Crystal, if you could turn your mic back on. This is the diabetes. This is the diabetes service. So what's your rapid prototype? Maybe you can share with us your from to statement first in this case, Crystal.
Okay, so the from statement is being in a state wherein it's impossible or extremely difficult to get the basic care. To basic care delivered at your doorstep or medical care, one phone call, chat, or text message away. 2 solutions. One would be just create a basic package that you can just deliver at the doorsteps of people who are in need. And the second solution would be to partner with medical practitioners, and then according to what they're recommending, send that care package to a patient.
So, Crystal, and this is a very practical question, no? Because Jojo and I are probably smiling at the same time right now because we know a partner for you. You actually service diabetic patients directly, no?
Yes, but in the US, so we provide continuous glucose monitoring. It's not yet available in the Philippines.
I see.
We're still getting approvals from the government to do that. So.
Right, but we should definitely get in touch offline. There's a company called Xenia that is precisely bringing healthcare to the home, and precisely some of these types of healthcare solutions that you're talking about.
Sure.
Yes, so we'll patch you on directly to the founder and CEO, David Foote. Okay, very good. Thank you. Well, that's another benefit of rapid remember, we did solo workouts, then we did peer exchanges. Another benefit of peer exchanges, as you can see, we've been collaborating, no? But if somebody like Crystal says, oh, I need something like this, and that, if there's a mechanism for us to quickly share that and keep on sharing this as part of our daily practice, then things like what just happened now can happen more often, which is, hey, I know somebody who can help you exactly what you're doing. Why don't I patch you on, right? But if we're not practicing this cadence of asking the right question, doing solo workouts, doing it fast, doing peer exchanges, then we're not going to happen into these happy coincidences. No? There's a way to make these happy coincidences happen more often and more systematically. And that's part of the discipline that we're going through right now. Okay, maybe as we're not exactly young in terms of time, no? Maybe we can fast forward to the next stop, which is also a very fun stop. Miguel, could you take us to the next stop, please? Which will probably be our last stop that we can get through today.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, so stop 7.
Yeah.
So this is all about building prototypes. Yeah, so, well, a general rule when you can pretty much prototype anything. So in this case, it's about creating something that's rough, so rapid and reasonable. Given that we have to do this remotely, if you can create it digitally, that would even be better. But sometimes just creating a prototype out of, let's say, school materials and showing it, maybe over Google Meets or Zoom and see what type of feedback you can get from that. At the very least, that's something you can do now.
Actually, Miguel, this is a very good example. If you go to the origin story, without actually showing the rapid prototypes there, you will see the entry that I made that tracks the history of all the prototypes. Okay, so right here. No. Let's not show the images because I want to take them through the progression. No? So this notion, ladies and gentlemen, of fidelity, prototyping in fidelity, right? Where you go from low fidelity to higher and higher fidelities. No? So in our case, this prototyping fidelity went like this. First and lowest fidelity was a paper sketch with 6 figures. Right? I even have it here. This happened in Tally, right? We went from there to an iPad iteration. I lost your screen, Miguel. Maybe I lost Miguel. So anyway, yes. Okay, Miguel's back. So we went from paper sketch to iPad iterations to number 3 fidelity, wireframes, to number 4 fidelity. We had a digital UI UX. Number 5 fidelity, the microsite was actually born from there. 6 fidelity, the 100-hour app, version 1, which we rejected ultimately. We went then from there to the 7th fidelity, which is the PDF version of the 100H app that we are now going through. And then finally, the 8th fidelity, which is the app itself. which we just refer to as version 1.1 because obviously it still has a lot of imperfections, right? There are for sure, even as we've launched this, a lot of things that we are somewhat embarrassed to be showing and using in front of you. But again, in the context of higher and higher fidelities, this is just part of the road to launching things in 100 hours or less. In other words, going fast is you've got to be willing to throw out things that are not yet perfect, and in getting them to users, that is actually your road to iterating and getting better and better. So at this point, we have officially ran out of time for this 100-hour Launchpad. No, I will give the floor to, before we say goodbye, to our special guest, Jojo Concepcion, who maybe, what are your parting words? What are your thoughts, Jojo, in terms of anything new that you learned, and any key takeaway that you learned either from this process or from the last 20 days of life that you think you can carry on as part of business new normal?
Well, the number one thing I've learned in life is that anything through crisis, there's so much opportunities through working differently that you find the ways to adapt, right? And I think if you are very focused on what you want to do, you have the passion and basically you have the grit to make it happen. I mean, when we put WeCare, one was launching it, the second one was to continuing to run it, right? And we're continually innovating. So I think that is fundamental to anything we do. It's that genuine belief that I need to move forward through any hardships and crisis. And, this is one way, thank you, Andre, for sharing with the group, of looking at it, right? I mean, we got to think, we've got to plan, we've got to see what we're doing in a very, what do you call this, a systematic fashion. And, what I've learned is there will be a tomorrow, and that tomorrow will be brighter than what we have today. So, just move forward one step at a time.
Thank you for that, Jojo. For sure, there will be a tomorrow. I think the good question is, especially again, how did we start today's session? I would like to remember again the frontliners. Now we are comfortable in our homes. The doctors, the nurses, the healthcare professionals, even to a certain extent, our government workers, police, they're all out there in the front lines. As we all work for a tomorrow, to make that tomorrow come, we have to remember that we have our own battles that we are entrusted with, no? And in these 30 days of lockdown, if indeed it is going to be 30 days, what we are presented with, shall we say, two pathways to get to that tomorrow. Whether that tomorrow is going to be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, who knows? We have a choice. That tomorrow can come to us where we just let these days pass and we are passive. We let the days take care of themselves. Or we can be more proactive and we can turn these days into periods of growth and transformation for ourselves. No, knowing though that this growth and transformation isn't just going to happen just like that. We have to start practicing new things. And certainly this discipline of the Launchpad, whether you use the app itself, the app is free, by the way, no? But the discipline of starting with a target stakeholder, focusing on their pains, turning that pain into a from-to statement, so you're very clear, and then starting to generate ideas, how you're going to attain that from-to statement, doing the rapid prototyping, and so on and so forth. It's really a shame we were not able to complete the steps 8 and 9 because those are instructive as to how you iterate, how you change gears, no? Because you're never going to get it right in the first instance or in the second instance. It's all about throwing things out there, getting the evidence of how it works, how it doesn't work, where it works, where it doesn't work, and that provides the mechanism by which you can tweak until you get to where we got to this app in 5 days and where Jojo and his team got to WeCare in 5 days. Now, So our ability to fight our own battles it has, in large part, the doctors did not suddenly appear in the front lines doing what they're doing. They do it every day. So what I'm saying is, if we want these 30 days to be days of growth and transformation, we've got to start doing our part to turn that so. No, this is why we turned for our part, one of our successive innovations or launches after 100-hour Launchpad is the 30 days of growth and transformation, where every day we offer something, whether it's about launching things in 100 hours or less. We do this every Tuesdays and Thursdays. No, we're lining up different companies next week, the week after. It's also not just about launching in the house. No, if you go back to the 4 growth streams, the data visualization exercise we did a while ago, one of the growth streams was something we call Peak X. That is about, if we talked about the how of launching, the how of Launchpad today, Peak X is really about the fuel, the why of the launch. So for that, for example, we have tomorrow, again, pain as a gift. It's going to be a 2-hour open conversation. It's going to be much more open banter than this. We are expecting Tony Meloto, Gus Thomas, former president of the University of Nepal, Jesuit University of Nepal. And I believe Manny Osmeña is also going to be joining us tomorrow, talk about pain as a gift. So this is about the fuel, the why. It's not just all about the how. On that note, I would like to thank everybody who joined us today. Back to back in a few minutes, we will be posting a link. If you want to join us, hop on over to the next Google Meets. We will be doing Aha Biz. This is a 30-minute briefing on our investigative journalists and what they found out about the new normal today. Let me leave with this 30 seconds bit of insight. We all talk about the new normal. To be honest, nobody knows what that is because it is so new. So like everything else that needs to be learned, we talk about a learning curve. So what we've done here in Ignite is we want to make that learning curve as, we want to be the earliest in that learning curve. So what we do is we do this every day, whether people are watching or not. We just open our doors. You attend our briefing. You see if you can learn anything. Because by doing this every day, in 30 days, we would have learned much more about this new normal than most people would have. The good news for you is we're going to keep on sharing this as part of our public service. On that note, I would like to say thank you to all of you who have been with us. The link for the Aha Biz has been posted. With my great thanks again to Jojo, Concepcion, and his leadership team, for everyone who participated, spoke up, threw in their chats. We want to thank you on behalf of the Ignite team and my co-host, Miguel Aranal.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jojo and team.
Thank you.
We shall see you in the next edition of 100-Hour Launchpad. Hope
Thanks,
to see
Andre.
you in Aha Biz. It's going to be in another chat room presented here. Take care, everybody. Keep safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. Bye. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Richard, it's good to see you again.
Yeah. Long time. Layo kasi yung huli, Ortigas eh.
Don't worry. When life gets better, we will go to you.
Yeah. I understand. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm signing off. I'll see you in the next chat room for Aha Biz.